Ever remember that whole fiasco when that big ticket site totally crashed
Oh, yeah.
during a massive concert ticket sale?
Yeah,
I mean, fans were furious, the company lost a ton of money, and it was a PR nightmare.
totally.
Turns out a lack of proper system testing was partly to blame.
Yep.
So that's what we're diving into today.
Right.
Why making sure software works as a whole is even more important than you might think.
Right. So most people, I think, tend to focus on just like the individual features of an app or a website.
Yeah.
But what system testing really does is look at the big picture.
Okay.
You know, it's like uh, testing a car's engine, brakes, and transmission separately is all well and good.
Mm-hmm.
But you really need to take that thing for a test drive to see
Yeah.
if it all works together smoothly under real-world conditions.
That's a great analogy.
Yeah.
So we've got a ton of research case studies and even some expert opinions on system testing.
Cool.
Our mission today is to figure out why this behind-the-scenes process is so critical for everything from banking apps to healthcare platforms and how it impacts all of us as users.
At its core, system testing just checks if a completely built software product does what it's supposed to.
Okay.
And it comes after all the individual pieces have already been tested on their own.
Gotcha.
Think of it as like the final quality assurance step before something's released to the public.
Makes sense.
Yeah,
And this matters to all of us, right?
totally.
I mean, whether we're coding the software or just using it every day, I mean, who hasn't been frustrated by like a glitchy app?
Ugh, all the time.
Right.
But the implications go way beyond just finding bugs.
Okay.
System testing ensures that the software truly meets user needs,
Yeah,
which can like make or break a product.
absolutely.
It also saves companies a ton of money in the long run by catching issues early on.
Right.
Plus, it ensures that things are built ethically and legally, which is more crucial than ever in our digital world.
Okay, so it's not just about squashing bugs, it's about making sure the entire experience is solid and trustworthy. You mentioned a case study about an e-commerce platform, right?
Oh yeah, this was a major online retailer planning a huge update
Okay.
with all sorts of new features.
Mm-hmm.
Everything worked fine in isolation.
Yeah.
But during system testing, they found a critical bug that completely blocked users from checking out.
Oh, wow.
Can you imagine the fallout if that had gone live?
That's a disaster avoided.
Yeah, they dodged a bullet thanks to system testing.
So they dodged a bullet thanks to system testing. Okay, so we get the why. Oh, but it's not just one type of test, right?
No,
There are different ways to approach this depending on what needs to be checked.
exactly. There are various types of system testing,
Okay.
each designed to look at specific aspects of the software.
All right, hit me with the testing superpowers.
Okay,
What are the main types?
let's start with functional testing.
Okay,
This checks whether every button, link, and feature does what it's designed to do.
gotcha.
Think of a banking app.
Mm-hmm.
Can you check your balance? Transfer money? Do you get notifications as expected? Functional testing makes sure all the core features work smoothly.
So it's all about making sure everything works as it should.
Yep.
What about how the software handles lots of users at once?
Right. That's where performance testing comes in.
Okay,
We simulate real-world usage to see how the software handles the pressure.
gotcha.
Imagine a huge e-commerce site during a massive sale.
Mm-hmm.
Thousands of users browsing, adding to carts, and checking out all at once.
Oh, yeah.
Performance testing ensures the site doesn't slow down or crash.
It's like putting the software through a stress test, right?
Exactly. Stress testing pushes the software to its absolute limits to find its breaking point.
Okay.
This is essential for things like ticket booking platforms that need to withstand huge spikes in demand, like when tickets for a popular concert go on sale.
Right, that makes sense. So we've got functionality, performance, and stress.
Mm-hmm.
But what about whether the software is actually easy to use?
That's where usability testing shines.
Okay.
It focuses on how intuitive and user-friendly the software is. Can people navigate easily, achieve their goals without getting lost?
Right.
Think about a healthcare portal. Doctors need to access information quickly and efficiently.
Mm-hmm.
So usability testing makes sure the design supports that.
It's like making sure the software isn't just functional, but actually a joy to use.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, what about security? In today's world, that seems like a huge deal.
Absolutely. It's becoming more vital than ever.
Right.
Security testing is like building a digital fortress around the software.
Okay.
looking for any vulnerabilities that hackers could exploit.
Gotcha.
We're talking data breaches, system disruptions, the whole 9 yards.
So it's not just about making sure the software works, it's about making sure it's safe and protected.
Exactly.
So we have all these different ways to test the software, from checking features and performance to stress testing and ensuring security and usability.
Yep.
It seems like a pretty comprehensive approach.
Yeah.
But I'm curious how teams actually DO it. What are the techniques they use?
There are a few key techniques that paint a complete picture. One is black box testing,
Right.
which is essentially evaluating the software from a user's perspective
Gotcha.
without knowing how the code works underneath.
Mm-hmm.
They're just interacting with the interface and checking if it behaves as expected.
So it's about focusing on how the software actually feels to use, not the technical nitty-gritty behind it.
Precisely. Now, even with all the amazing automation tools out there,
Yeah.
manual testing is still incredibly important.
Okay.
Human testers can find things that automated tests might miss, particularly when it comes to usability and those subtle quirks that make a big difference to the user experience.
So it's not just about robots taking over human intuition, still plays a key role.
Right.
But you mentioned automation. Where does that fit in?
Automated testing is all about speed and efficiency.
Okay.
It uses special tools and scripts to run tests automatically,
Gotcha.
which means teams can test way more scenarios much faster.
Yeah.
This is especially useful for repetitive tasks or simulations that involve a huge number of users.
So it's like having a team of super fast robots working alongside the human testers.
Exactly.
Okay.
Can you give us some examples of these automated testing tools?
Yeah, sure.
Some popular ones are Selenium,
Okay.
which is great for testing web applications.
Mm-hmm.
GMeter, often used for performance and load testing.
Gotcha.
And LoadRunner, which can handle really complex simulations.
Okay.
And then there's TestRail, which helps teams organize and track all their testing activities.
It sounds like there's a whole toolbox of testing goodies.
Yeah.
But with all these techniques and tools, how does the actual system testing process work? Is it just chaos?
Not at all. It's a structured process with specific steps.
Okay.
It all starts with a thorough requirement analysis.
All right.
The team figures out what needs to be tested based on what the software is supposed to do.
So it's like figuring out the blueprint before you start building. Right.
Exactly. Then comes test case design,
Okay.
where specific scenarios are created to test different aspects of the software. Think of it as a battle plan, outlining every possible attack and how the software should defend itself.
And I imagine the testing environment needs to be pretty realistic too, right?
Absolutely. Environment setup is crucial.
Okay.
The testing environment needs to mirror the real-world conditions as closely as possible, which can get pretty complex depending on the software.
Right.
This ensures that the tests are accurate and reflect how the software will actually perform in the wild.
So it's showtime what happens during the actual test execution phase.
This is where we put those carefully designed tests into action,
Okay.
recording every result and noting any bugs, glitches, or deviations from what we expect.
And I'm guessing meticulous documentation is crucial here.
Absolutely. That's where defect logging comes in.
Okay.
Every issue is documented with details like its severity, how to reproduce it, and all the relevant information so developers can understand and fix the problem.
So it's not just about finding bugs, it's about creating a clear path to fixing them. What happens after all the testing is done?
Then we move into result analysis.
Right.
This is where we go beyond just fixing bugs and try to understand why they happened in the first place.
Interesting.
What went wrong in the code or design that led to this problem?
Mm-hmm.
By analyzing the results, the team can improve the software's quality and prevent those same issues from popping up again.
It's like being a detective trying to solve a software crime. Okay, so the bugs are fixed. Does the testing stop there?
Nope. There's retesting and regression testing.
Okay.
Retesting makes sure the fixes actually work,
Gotcha.
while regression testing makes sure that fixing one thing didn't accidentally break something else.
It's like double-checking your work and making sure everything is still in sync.
Exactly.
This whole process is way more organized than I imagined.
It is.
But I think a real-world example would really help me understand how it all comes together. You mentioned a financial app earlier. Could we dive into that a little deeper?
Absolutely. Let's take online banking as an example.
Okay.
These apps handle incredibly sensitive financial data, so system testing is paramount to ensure they're secure, reliable, and easy to use.
The stakes are definitely high with something like banking. What specific tests would be done on a financial app like that?
Well, you definitely start with functional testing,
Mm-hmm.
focusing on things like balance checks, transfers, bill payments, and transaction history.
Yeah.
You absolutely need to make sure every transaction is executed correctly and securely.
And I'd imagine performance testing is crucial too, especially during busy periods when everyone's checking their accounts.
You're spot on.
Yeah,
They would simulate thousands of users logging in, making transactions, and doing all sorts of things simultaneously.
right.
The system needs to be able to handle that rush without any hiccups.
And security testing has got to be a top priority, right? With all the concerns about data breaches these days.
Absolutely. They would conduct extensive security testing,
Yeah.
looking for vulnerabilities like those SQL injection attacks you mentioned earlier,
Hmm.
as well as other common threats. The goal is to make that app a digital fortress impenetrable to hackers trying to get their hands on user data.
It's not just about hackers, though, is it?
Yeah.
There are also legal and regulatory requirements to consider, especially when it comes to financial data.
You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
Compliance testing is essential
Okay.
to ensure the app meets all the relevant financial regulations and data protection standards.
Right.
This protects user data and builds trust with the users. No one wants to feel like their financial information is at risk.
It's fascinating how all these different types of testing work together to create a seamless and secure experience for users.
It really is.
But I'm curious about those automated testing tools we talked about earlier. Could you give us a little more insight into how they actually help in the testing process?
Imagine having to manually test hundreds of different scenarios,
Yeah.
clicking buttons, entering data, and checking results over and over again.
Right.
It would be incredibly time-consuming and prone to human error.
Mm-hmm.
That's where automated testing tools come in to save the day.
Right, huh?
They can do all that repetitive work quickly and accurately.
So it's about taking the burden off human testers so they can focus on the more complex and nuanced aspects of testing that require human judgment and creativity.
Exactly. For example, Selenium can automate tests for web applications,
Right.
simulating user actions like clicking links, filling out forms, and navigating different pages.
Mm.
This lets testers cover a much wider range of scenarios, much faster than they could manually.
And you mentioned JMeter for performance testing, right? Can you tell us more about that?
Sure, JMeter can simulate thousands of virtual users accessing an application at the same time.
Okay.
It's like creating a virtual mob to see how the app handles heavy traffic.
Gotcha.
This helps identify bottlenecks and potential breaking points before they cause problems in the real world.
So it's like a digital stress test, pushing the software to its limits to see how it holds up?
Exactly. And then you have Load Runner, which is even more powerful.
Okay.
It's used for enterprise-level applications that need to handle massive volumes of traffic. Think of a global e-commerce site during a huge sale or a popular gaming platform during peak hours.
Oh, wow.
Load Runner can simulate those extreme scenarios to make sure the system can take the heat.
Wow. It's like having an army of virtual users at your disposal to really put the software through its paces.
It is.
And what about TestRail? How does that help with the testing process?
TestRail is all about organization and management.
Okay.
It helps teams keep track of all those test cases, results, and defects.
Mm-hmm.
It's like having a super efficient project manager for your testing efforts,
Right.
making sure everything runs smoothly and nothing gets overlooked.
Okay. We've covered a lot of ground already, from the different types of testing and techniques to the tools that help streamline the process.
We have.
But I think another real-world example would be helpful to see how it all comes together. You mentioned a healthcare platform earlier. Can we delve into that case study?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
This was a digital healthcare provider preparing to launch a new patient management system. They wanted to make sure it was reliable, user-friendly, and of course completely secure, given all the sensitive patient information it would be handling.
That sounds like a system where you absolutely cannot afford to have any glitches.
No.
What kind of testing did they do?
They did a whole suite of tests
I'll go
for
for it.
functionality and usability.
Yeah.
They focused on features like scheduling appointments,
Mm-hmm.
accessing medical records, secure messaging between patients and doctors, and other key functions.
Right.
They wanted to make sure these features worked perfectly and were intuitive for both patients and healthcare providers to use.
And I imagine performance testing was critical as well, given the potential for high traffic during peak hours.
Exactly. They simulated high traffic scenarios
Okay.
to make sure the system could handle the load without any slowdowns or errors.
Hmm.
Imagine hundreds of doctors and patients trying to access the system at the same time.
Right.
It had to be able to keep up.
And given the sensitivity of medical data security testing, must have been a top priority.
Absolutely. They conducted thorough security testing to identify and fix any vulnerabilities that could have put patient information at risk.
Gotcha.
And they also had to ensure compliance with HIPAA, which are those regulations that protect the privacy and security of health information.
So it wasn't just about making the system work, it was about making it bulletproof from a security standpoint. What was the outcome of all this testing?
Well, they found some pretty critical issues during the testing process,
Oh, really?
including a bug that could have caused scheduling conflicts
Oh, no.
and another that could have led to delays in accessing patient records.
Yikes.
Luckily, they caught these problems before the system launched,
Okay, good.
ensuring a smooth rollout and a reliable platform for both healthcare providers and patients.
That's a great example of how system testing can really make a difference, especially when it comes to something as important as healthcare. But we've covered a lot of ground already.
Yeah.
And I think it's a good place to pause. For now, we'll pick up the conversation in our next episode and explore some of the human factors involved in system testing and look at what the future holds for this critical field.
Sounds good.
Welcome back to our deep dive into the world of system testing. Before we paused, we were talking about that healthcare platform and how thorough testing helped them avoid some potentially serious problems.
Right.
It's a great reminder that testing isn't just a technical checkbox.
Yeah.
It's about ensuring a positive experience for everyone who uses the software.
It's interesting how we often focus on like the technical side of testing,
Yeah.
but there's a human element that's just as critical to success.
You're right. We talked about the importance of manual testing earlier, but it sounds like you're hinting at something even bigger than that.
Exactly. Beyond the tools and techniques, the real magic happens when you have strong communication and collaboration
Mm-hmm.
between everyone involved, developers, testers, project managers, even the end users. When everyone's on the same page and working together effectively, that's when system testing really shines.
So it's not just about technical skills, it's about having the right team dynamics and mindset.
Absolutely. And that includes things like open communication, clear feedback loops, and a constant drive to improve.
Right.
That's what sets apart a good testing process from a truly great one.
It makes perfect sense. Software development is a team sport, and system testing is a key part of the game plan.
For sure.
But even with the best teams, there are always challenges.
Yeah.
What are some of the common roadblocks teams might face during the system testing process?
One of the biggest hurdles is simply the sheer complexity of modern software. We're talking about intricate systems with tons of interconnected parts, often running on different platforms and talking to various external systems.
Right.
Trying to test all of that thoroughly can be a real headache.
It sounds like trying to solve a giant multi-dimensional puzzle where the pieces are constantly changing. How do teams even begin to tackle that level of complexity?
Well, one strategy is to break down the testing process into smaller, more manageable pieces.
Okay.
Instead of trying to test the entire system at once, they focus on individual components or subsystems first.
Gotcha.
This helps isolate problems and makes it easier to find and fix bugs.
So it's a divide and conquer approach, taking on the complexity one piece at a time.
Exactly. Another important technique is interface testing,
Okay.
which focuses specifically on how different components of the system talk to each other.
Mm-hmm.
By testing these interfaces, teams can make sure that data is flowing correctly, communication is smooth, and everything works together seamlessly.
It's like making sure all the different instruments in an orchestra are in tune and playing the right notes at the right time.
That's a great analogy. Now, another challenge that often pops up is time pressure.
Yeah.
In today's fast-paced world, there's always a rush to get software out the door quickly,
Right.
which can sometimes lead to compromises in the testing process.
I can see how that could be a problem. Rushing through testing might seem like a shortcut.
Yeah.
But it could end up causing even bigger delays and problems down the line.
Exactly. Skimping on testing might save a little time up front, but it can lead to costly and time-consuming issues later on.
Right.
It's like trying to build a house on a shaky foundation. It's only a matter of time before things start to fall apart.
So investing in thorough testing is essential, even when time is tight.
Absolutely. Now, another challenge, especially for smaller teams or startups, is limited resources.
Okay.
Testing often requires specialized skills,
Mm.
tools, and infrastructure, which can be expensive, especially for companies with limited budgets.
That's understandable. How can teams overcome those resource constraints?
One approach is to prioritize their testing efforts,
Okay.
focusing on the most critical parts of the software first.
Right.
This allows them to get the most out of their limited resources and ensure that the core functionalities are rock solid.
So it's about being strategic and making the most of what you have.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Another solution is to leverage cloud-based testing platforms. These platforms give teams on-demand access to testing tools and infrastructure without requiring huge upfront investments.
Gotcha.
It's like renting a powerful testing lab instead of having to build one yourself.
That's a great option for smaller companies that might not have the resources to invest in their own testing infrastructure.
Exactly. And This kind of flexibility can be a game changer for smaller teams. Now, you might be wondering, with all these advances in automation and AI, will manual testing eventually become a thing of the past?
That's an interesting question. Will robots eventually take over all aspects of testing?
I don't think so. While automation is incredibly powerful, it's still just a tool.
Yeah,
It can't replace human intelligence and intuition entirely.
right.
Manual testing is crucial for uncovering usability issues, exploring those edge cases that automated tests might miss, and understanding how real people interact with the software.
So it's all about finding the right balance between the efficiency of automation and the irreplaceable insights of human testers.
Precisely, automation can handle the heavy lifting, freeing up human testers to focus on the more nuanced and creative aspects of testing.
Right.
It's a powerful combination.
Now, looking ahead, what are some of the emerging trends shaping the future of system testing? What's on the horizon for this field?
One exciting trend is the rise of artificial intelligence and machine learning in testing.
Okay.
These technologies are being used to automate even more complex testing tasks, predict potential bugs before they even appear, and even generate test cases automatically.
So AI is becoming a powerful ally for testers, helping them work smarter and faster.
Absolutely, and this is just the beginning. As AI and ML continue to evolve, we can expect to see even more innovative uses in testing, leading to faster, more efficient, and more intelligent testing processes.
That's fascinating. It sounds like the future of system testing is incredibly exciting.
It is.
But before we get too carried away with future possibilities, let's take a step back and talk about the bigger picture. Why does all this matter?
Right.
Why should people even care about system testing?
That's a crucial point. System testing isn't just about making software work. It's about making sure that the software we all rely on is secure, reliable, and user-friendly.
Yeah.
It's about building trust in the digital systems that power our lives.
So it's about creating a better, safer, and more reliable digital world for everyone.
Exactly. Think about all the software you use daily. Your banking app, healthcare portal, online shopping sites, even the apps that help you navigate traffic and find your way around.
Right.
Behind each of these applications is a team of dedicated professionals who have rigorously tested the system to ensure it works as it should.
It's easy to take all that for granted until something goes wrong.
Yeah.
Then we realize just how much we depend on well-tested software.
You're absolutely right, and that's why system testing is so important.
Yeah.
It might be happening behind the scenes, but it plays a vital role in shaping our digital experiences and keeping our data safe.
It's a great reminder that even though we might not always see it, system testing is working hard to make our digital lives better, but we've covered a lot of ground today. From the technical details to the human element and even a glimpse into the future.
Yeah.
Before we wrap up, is there anything else you'd like to add about the importance of system testing or any key takeaways you'd like to leave our listeners with?
I think the main takeaway is that system testing isn't just a technical process. It's something that impacts the quality and reliability of the software we all use every day.
Right.
Whether you're a developer, a tester, or just someone who uses software, understanding the value of system testing can help you appreciate the effort that goes into creating software that's both functional and enjoyable to use.
Yeah.
It's about building trust, ensuring security, and ultimately creating a better digital world.
That's a powerful message. And on that note, I think it's time to move on to our final segment. We'll explore what happens when system testing goes wrong, examine the potential consequences, and leave you with some thought-provoking questions to consider. Welcome back to the deep dive. We've been on quite a journey through the world of system testing, haven't we? From the intricacies of different testing types to those aha moments when a critical bug is caught just in the nick of time.
Right.
It's been fascinating to peek behind the curtain and see how software is really put through its paces.
It really is incredible how much system testing impacts our daily lives without us even realizing it.
Yeah.
From the banking apps that handle our hard-earned cash to the healthcare systems that store our sensitive medical data, system testing is silently working in the background to keep those systems running smoothly, securely, and reliably.
It's like an invisible safety net protecting us from all sorts of digital disasters.
Totally.
But that brings up an interesting question. What happens when that safety net fails? What are the consequences when those pesky bugs manage to slip through the cracks?
Well, the impact can vary widely depending on the software and the severity of the bug.
Okay.
Sometimes it's just a minor annoyance, a slow-loading website, a frozen app, those little glitches that make you sigh and roll your eyes.
Right.
But in other cases, those bugs can have serious repercussions.
So it's not just about avoiding a bit of user frustration.
Right.
It's about preventing potentially catastrophic consequences.
Exactly. Imagine a bug in a financial trading platform that causes incorrect calculations,
Oh, wow.
or a security flaw in a hospital's patient record system that exposes confidential information.
That's scary.
These aren't just hypothetical scenarios, they're real-world risks that system testing helps to mitigate.
It's a sobering reminder of the enormous responsibility that rests on the shoulders of system testers. They're like the guardians of the digital realm,
Yeah.
protecting us from the chaos that can erupt when software goes awry.
That's a great way to put it, and it highlights why it's so crucial to invest in thorough system testing,
Yeah.
to build a culture of quality in software development, and to support those dedicated professionals who are working tirelessly to ensure that the software we rely on is safe, secure, and trustworthy.
Absolutely. It's an investment that pays off in countless ways.
It really is.
As we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave our listeners with a final thought. The next time you open an app, visit a website, or interact with any digital system, take a moment to appreciate the unseen efforts of those who have rigorously tested that system to make sure it works as expected.
It's a testament to human ingenuity and the collaborative spirit of making technology work for us, not against us.
And on that note, we'll bring this episode of the Deep Dive to a close.
Right?
We hope you've enjoyed exploring the fascinating world of system testing with us. Until next time, stay curious, stay informed, and stay engaged in the ever-evolving